The few governors that remain in opposition, Governor of Oyo State, Seyi Makinde, has criticized what he perceives as a lack of transparency in the Nigeria Tax Act 2025. Now, this comes as the House of Representatives Minority Caucus Ad Hoc Fact-Finding Committee has confirmed that unauthorized alterations were made to some tax reform laws in the Nigeria Tax Administration Act 2025 after they were passed by the National Assembly and assented to by Bola Tinubu. Well, the committee reported that up to 3 different versions of the law are currently in circulation. Only one version aligns with the certified true copies officially issued by the House of Representatives. Well, here's what the governor had to say about the tax bill.
In this dispensation, there was a tax bill. And we said, look, bring the tax bill. Bring it back. Let us all have an opportunity to look dispassionately at it. But you cannot speak truth to power in this dispensation. So the tax bill will go ahead. It's an affront for even the governors to be saying what the presidency has done to send the tax bill to the National Assembly. They should bring it back. It won't happen. And we know where we are right now. The tax bill, we don't know what was passed at the National Assembly. We don't also know what was signed.
All right, well, while one governor is saying he's unaware, in another state, the state is moving forward with the tax bill. So still staying on the tax bill, a letter issued by Lagos Internal Revenue Service over the weekend has gone viral. The LIRS says it will begin enforcing its statutory power of substitution under the Nigeria Tax Administration Act 2025 to recover outstanding tax liabilities from defaulting taxpayers. Well, what does all this jargon mean? It means that if a taxpayer refuses or fails to pay an agreed tax debt, LIRS can issue a substitution notice. So this will allow LIRS to require banks, employers, customers, or anyone who holds or owes the taxpayer money to pay that amount directly to LIRS. And that payment is treated as settling the taxpayer's tax debt to that extent. So in essence, if my landlord is owing 1 million in tax, I, as the tenant, can become liable to paying that 1 million directly to the tax man.
Rent money,
from your rent? Yes, from my rent money. So here are some reactions online. One tweet says, the power is overreaching. So here is what will happen. If anyone owes you, you can owe taxes and tie it to your debtors not paying as and when due. I trust Nigerians to exploit this loophole. But Rashid says, LOL, we all know what we are doing. You intentionally misquoted Taiwo. Taiwo Oyedele has pretty much been clear. He explained that banks cannot deduct money from your account automatically if money comes in. This was the fear of the public. He also mentioned that banks can only deduct money from your account after tax liabilities have been established and the taxes have become final and conclusive. What does that mean? That is, assessment has been issued, which can be objected, and when there is no consensus, the tax appeal tribunal comes in, then High Court, finally Supreme Court. If the taxpayer still refuses to pay, then the tax authority can instruct the bank to deduct money from your account, which is what LIRS has stated in their notice. It's all very technical stuff, but the gist of it is that people are worried about the implications of the tax bill and whether we all really understand, especially as some states like Lagos State are moving forward to implement, although Governor Makinde says, as a governor, he doesn't know what's inside. Yeah.
Okay, it's a very big conversation and it's ongoing. And like you rightly said, Vimbai, a number of people do not understand the details or the terms or how it would affect them. So breaking it down to the implications for the ordinary man who is paying taxes. I think this is where the big disconnect is. And kudos to Mr. Taiwo Oyedele, who has tried many times on different platforms to break it down, to explain, even though sometimes his statements are taken out of context or misconstrued. However, this clearly shows that there is a need for further awareness and a breakdown of the implications or the impact of the Joint Tax Act of 2025 in order for people not to misinform others. I recall that this particular question was actually posed to him when he came for the interview, and I think it was the Friday that was engaging him, and he said that the process was so long that it is almost impossible, that it's a means of last resort, and like the other ex-poster had put up, all the different processes that must be followed before you get to that. So whilst LIRS might put out a notice, the point is that it has to follow the due process. What we'll now see is whether or not there was some kind of untruth being told by how long the process would take. In fact, he discarded it, saying that those are not the people that they are looking for, because those who would default are probably the people that are paying taxes that are not the heavy hitters. And so before they would even begin to face that, it would take a long time, almost discounting people's concerns. But as LIRS has now come out, maybe a further clarification is required by people, so that people don't feel like because people are now still posting out, in fact, some false posts that they've deducted my money, it's tax, they've come for my money, and it's not as clear cut as that. Just put that out there. But and to assuage the fears of certain people that it's not that straightforward, it's not going to happen that people are going to start deducting your money as based on the explanations, except again another explanation comes to explain the explanation that was given by Mr. Taiwo Oyedele. But going back to what Mr. Makinde said, the Governor Makinde said from Oyo State, it's a big concern. And when this thing came out around the discrepancies with what was passed by the Joint House, the National Assembly, and what was gazetted, there were a number of calls from different quarters, the NBA, some governors, that let us address this issue before we begin to implement, because it has far-reaching consequences. It's not just the matter of the tax, which is a big deal. It also puts a shroud of, comma on a number of things that have been passed by this administration, because if it happened with the Joint Tax Act, it means that it might have happened before, or it might happen again in the future. And this is why we said, perhaps should there be a pause on those sections of the law that were controversial until a full investigation has been instituted and we see the outcome, which we've now seen, where they are now saying there were indeed discrepancies. And so I'm expecting a statement from the federal government as to what is the way forward. Should Nigerians be under a law that is controversial, that lacks legitimacy or questions its legitimacy based on the process and the fact that there are lots of people who have said that it is not, that there are different things that have happened in the course of passing the law. So a number of questions there, but just to summarize in this, number one, a lot of people still do not know what this means for them. More information is required, more budgets if possible, so that the office is able to raise awareness, the National Orientation Agency able to put messages out there. We can have seminars to really let people know, so that people are not afraid. It's a collective responsibility. If we must have a buy-in, we must know what it is that we're getting into.
That's it. That's absolutely it. And of course, clarity, with a number of documents now confirmed to be in circulation, which one is the correct document? Now, we're still in Oyo State. As a former First Lady of Oyo State, Dr. Florence Ajimobi has dismissed a viral video circulating on social media where she declares war against the PDP in the governorship election. She's described it as a fabricated deep fake aimed at misleading the public about her position on the 2027 governorship election. In a statement issued by her office on Saturday, Dr. Ajimobi said the video, which allegedly shows her making controversial remarks about the current PDP-led administration in the state, was never recorded by her. Well, here is the video.
We're going to war in 2027. That's what I tell you. It's going to be war. Head-on war. PDP must go. Whatever they want to do, whatever they want to try, whatever tricks, all powers belong to God, but we're going to beg God, and we're going to fight them. Whatever they have in the state, we have at the federal level. We have money. They have money in the state. We have money in the federal level. We have all the support we need. We're not going to be intimidated. So let them get ready for us. We are ready for them.
All right, well, according to the statement issued by the former First Lady, digital forensic experts reviewed the footage and they confirmed that it was generated using artificial intelligence, which manipulated lip movements and cloned voice patterns intended to imitate the former First Lady. However, an independent analysis of the full video shows that it is authentic and was recorded in June of 2025 during the 5th memorial prayer of her late husband, former Oyo State Governor Abiola Ajimobi, and that was held in Oyo State. Rufai, you're giggling.
See, AI has turned the devil. Everybody now lies on AI. Is AI, is AI, is AI. You know, my dear Auntie Flori, the truth is, she said it, and I don't think it's good to lie on AI. Own up once they said it. I think the speech, the statement written could have given a context around it and say, oh, I didn't mean it that way. But to now lie openly on AI, and it is the same AI that they used to debunk your lie because they have evidence. You see, it's sad. And I feel what she said at that point in time, you know, she had gone through a lot after her husband died. And it had not been a chummy relationship with the Seyi Makinde-led state government. I mean, I don't want to go into details of that. And probably at the 5th anniversary, she felt very hurt, you know, and she said a lot of things. People say things when they are hurt. But please, with due respect, we should remind politicians that it's about them in the end. Heavens will not fall because things do not go your way. And 2027 is not war. It's about you and your political kith and kin. Today, she's been given a position. At least she's ambassador in waiting. Ambassador designates. Even if Dr. Bad says the agreement process takes very long and, you know. But she's been compensated. President Tinubu has looked at her. The Seyi Makinde that she was probably at lockerheads then with, it is facing his own today. Seyi Makinde that hardly talk has been speaking. If you ask her, she will not say what she said last year because she's probably in a better place. But for them, it's about their own political hegemony. I mean, some will even extend it that, oh, why is she saying this? But her husband was one of the first persons to win a 2-term in Oyo State. In fact, there used to be a talk then, political talk then, one see on your leg, So prior to her husband, prior to Ajimobi, nobody had won 2 terms. So they had the good perks of office. So because they are no longer there, she had no right to say because things are not going in your favor, it's going to be war. But please, people should stop lying on AI. That's one. And politicians should temper things down.
Okay, quick. First on taxation. Look, there's a lot of ignorance walking on stilts out there with regard to the new tax laws expressed by people who have not even made any effort to read any of the documents, who just rely on hearsay. Even in the House of Representatives, there is confusion between the Minority Caucus report and what the committee that was set up. The Senate has tried as much as possible to stay away from the controversy. But a law is made for man, not the other way around. And the true test of any law is in its implementation. It seems to me that as we begin the implementation of these 4 tax laws, there will be a lot that will be revealed. And the people of Nigeria have the right to question some of those provisions and to insist that law, any piece of legislation, being a living document, can always be revised. Now take the issue of substitution. The Lagos State Internal Revenue Service is quoting Section 60 of the Tax Administration Act, the NTAA. And they say, okay, if you are served the notice and you have to pay under substitution, if you disagree, there will be penalties for you. If you check that law, there must be a provision there that you can also insist on your right as an individual. If your landlord is owing money, then they say they are substituting, you should come and pay rent to them. You can go to court and say it doesn't concern me. So it's not as if, those who will be served substitution notices are helpless or that they are victims. But as I said, the true test of the law is in its implementation. And as they begin to implement, people will just have the right to insist on their rights too. That's the balance. Very quickly, as for Mrs. Ajimobi, well, I mean, the statement was issued that this was deep fake, but the statement just said from one of the spokespersons. Now, spokespersons who issue statements should be courageous enough to put their names to it. Because it looks like in this particular sense, the man who issued that statement was not bold enough to put his name there. So you can't have, spokespersons who act like ghosts because they themselves don't believe what they are saying. And then if you look at that video, there are persons there. There is a lady there wearing the same headgear with Mrs. Ajimobi. There are two men, one to the left, one to the right. They are human beings. I don't think that, they too are victims of deep fake. So it's a matter of honor for all these people who serenade their public figures to also have the courage to speak. But I imagine that a woman who has been appointed ambassador designate cannot come and be talking about war and be speaking in Jagun terms or Jagun or for your state terms. So that's why I think it is good that she has retracted, whether the excuse is logical or not, but at least...
No, she didn't retract. She just said they lied on AI.
She said they lied on her. Yeah, okay.
That's not retraction.
She said it's fake.
She didn't own up to it. She didn't retract. She just walked up promo AI.
Okay, whatever. The fake news and all of that. But at least she has said she did not say so.
Okay.
Because it would have been scandalous for an ambassador designate to be saying there will be war and that it will be serious war.
Doctor, but you never know. In Donald Trump's world, it might be acceptable in diplomacy.
No, but she's not Donald Trump. She's an ambassador designate. We don't want a warrior ambassador. We want an ambassador who believes in peace.
Absolutely.
Like,
absolutely.
That guy,
which one?
Flavor.
Okay, Odumeji, yes.
But let me just say something very quickly.
Very quickly,
perspective.
yes.
That this was a very emotive day, and I'm glad that you gave the background of what the platform on which she might have made this statement. I do agree that I think that statement was in poor taste, and whoever wrote it should actually retract that statement, and if anything, like Rufai had mentioned, give a context as to why that statement was made. Just to give her that space of humanity, like you mentioned, she'd been through a lot, and this was the anniversary. I think it was the birthday lecture of her late husband. And when you're in an emotive state, you might say things that you might not recollect. So I'm standing up as a woman to just say that sometimes let us allow some of these people. It was emotive, and on that grounds, I'll say let's just allow
There's
her.
something called maturity, whatever the circumstances. Maturity is not something you can explain away.
Yes.
Somebody who is immature, you can't say, oh, it's because she was emotional. No.
I think
maturity is important.
Maturity is important, but I think precedent is also important because if we forgive her, it means that if other people are to make potentially inflammatory statements, we have to forgive them as well. So that's the conversation.
That's just it.
Let's go
if we say we should forgive them, that means we should forgive them.
No, I said understand.